Colin, I'm guessing this is one of those sort of parts when you receive the script, it sort of fizzes off the page. It's one of those ones you think, yeah, this is exciting. I can have a lot of fun on this job.
Yes, well, particularly combined with knowing that it's Matthew Vaughn and the way he likes to do things and how playful he is and, you know, how it all looks. But it didn't start with the script. It started with a meeting with him, and the script was not finished yet. And so I got a kind of an overview. I didn't know the comics, so I read those, gave me those. And it just felt like refreshingly unfamiliar stuff.
Because when you sort of read the synopsis of this sort of a year ago, not you, but just in general, when, you know, people knew this movie was going to be made, it read almost like a Bond spoof, almost sort of like a young adult Austin Powers, but what it's turned out like is incredibly different, isn't it?
Well, I think Matthew's beginning to become a brand of his own, really. You know, he makes use of all those things, but once it's processed through him, it's just him. And you know, yes, it's got comic book. Yes, it veers a bit towards Austin Powers. I don't think very far. Yes, there are Bond references, but there's Harry Palmer, there's King Arthur and his knights, there's almost Batman, you know, vintage Batman, I mean. And so he uses a lot of familiar things, and then he plays with them in a way that has immense affection for it. You can tell that he was weaned on that stuff, fell in love with it, and now he's being playful with it. So he's not satirizing any of it at its expense. He's you know, it's a tribute almost.
Because I've got written down here, he seems to be a one-off in the industry, sings to his own tune. I mean,
yes.
Is he as unique as they come?
Well, this is sort of, that's what I was saying. I think that now he's becoming a reference point of his own. You know, people talk about the Bond franchise, they talk about the Marvel stuff, or you know, I think a Matthew Vaughn thing is now just a Matthew Vaughn thing.
Part of the Matthew Vaughn thing is the violence, comic book violence. Some might say gratuitous violence. Where do you stand on that? You know, it's the most violent film you've ever made, for instance.
Yes, obviously there's a kind of hyper-violent thing going on, but it is so comic book and so pantomime and so satirical that I've yet to meet anybody that is upset by it. It's not, you know, there'll always be arguments about this sort of thing, but you know, unless you want to take all physical conflict out of all storytelling and be left with very little Shakespeare and no custard pie fights and no Punch and Judy and no... I think that it's all about tone. And this is not gory. It's sending it up. It's being mischievous with it. You know, in some ways it reminds me almost more of Monty Python fights.
Because is that the difference? If you think of Tarantino, I mean, he has his own brand of blood, doesn't he? With this violence, there is no blood. It's
very bloodless. It's not even as bloody as what you'll see on television. You know, whether it's aliens or zombies chewing people up, and it's not as gory as that. It's actually kind of lightening a dark thing, I think, and in some ways I think it's in the spirit of send up.
And just finally, without giving too much away about the film, would you like to see more of these? Do you think there's a franchise potential in these films?
I think there is a franchise potential, and I would be very surprised if they didn't go on with them. Yeah.
Lovely.
Thank you.